Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey, everybody, it's Debbie Potts, and I'm doing another new podcast with some guests that I met and was so impressed by at PaleoFX this year. And I have Joe and Chris on the show today to talk about brain health and performance and longevity. Hi, guys.
Good morning.
Hello.
And Joe, why don't you start of kind of what you guys are doing and your story of what we're talking about today? What's your product and why?
Chris and I started a company where we're innovating brain health products into everyday products that you can incorporate into your daily habits. Our first product that we're coming out with right now that you would have tried down at PaleoFX is a cognitive coffee creamer. So we're trying to get people to add a little bit of brain health into their daily habit of having a morning coffee.
And Chris, why don't you share kind of your story? Why do we need this? Why did you create this? Because I know starting a new product, and I went to Natural Product Show Expo West, and everyone has a story of, because it's a lot of work to put something to the market. So what drives you guys? What's your mission, purpose, and why?
Yeah, we started a few years ago, Joe and I, and we have two other brothers, just trying to solve for our family history of Alzheimer's disease. Our dad has Alzheimer's disease. Our grandfather died of Alzheimer's disease. And when that's staring you in the face, coming right at you, you start to think, oh, gosh, we got to do something different here than what Dad and Grandpa did. And we just started diving into it, doing a lot of research, spending a lot of time listening to podcasts, reading books, and going down the path of what we could do lifestyle change-wise to make sure that we're doing everything we can not to have cognitive decline and Alzheimer's disease. So that's our why. And as we were doing this and adding nutrients to our brain, along with other lifestyle changes like exercise and cyclical ketosis, we developed this adding stuff to our coffee and started sharing it with people, and everybody really liked it. It really has a nice effect on your brain. And we just kind of evolved naturally from there, that wanting to share it with other people.
So what did you learn in your research about brain health and what led you to creating this? So you mentioned ketosis, cyclical ketosis, and I'm sure fasting. What have you learned? And we'll get to what the ingredients are in the product to make it work and how they work.
Well, we've learned a lot because we learned that we were doing a lot of things wrong. First of all, the typical American diet, you're running off of sugar and glucose, and one thing we learned is the brain functions better on ketones. So that's why we started with adding MCT to our coffee. That was kind of our first step. We also learned through some further genetic testing with our SNPs, particularly the ApoE4 that we both have, which is kind of predetermines that you can be susceptible to Alzheimer's disease. That saturated fat, animal saturated fat's not really great for our body type, and our genetics. So as far as adding the butter and things like that to it, we started taking that back out and adding other things to it. So we just kind of combined, our research with our genetic profiles and kind of came up with stuff that works for us and works for everybody.
I think genetics is a huge part, because I know and Keon program I did with Ben Greenfield and DNA Fit as a coach, you learn about all the genetics in Dr. Ben Lynch's book, Dirty Genes. If anyone wants to learn more about genetics and how, yes, saturated fat is good for most everyone, but not too much for some people based on some genetic SNPs. And it's really important to get healthy fats, but also what type of fats and how much. And like you found out with your own genetic background that you guys as an individual, we need to alter what types of fat we have.
Correct. Joe, you want to go into that?
Joe, do you have what you learned from genetic testing markers? Because I think so many people do high fat or into it, but they're not sure of the saturated fat. Go for it.
That's exactly right. We were doing the whole. I started off with bulletproof coffees, and we're going down that whole road, which we really enjoyed and felt the benefits from. But then through seeing our functional medicine doctors and getting our own blood work done, and then diving deeper into the science, that's kind of where we ended up having to eliminate that animal saturated fat as part of our diet. It wasn't serving either one of us very well. Our blood work wasn't coming back great, particularly trying to get omega-3 fatty acid balance right. So that's kind of where we made that change and to decide to restrict the amount of saturated animal fat that we were consuming. And really stick with the plant-based saturated like coconut oil or C8, particularly C8 MCT, doesn't really have that negative effect.
I just finished reading Dr. McCullough's Fat for Fuel in his keto fasting book and talked about that as well, because obviously he's really interested in the benefits for brain health and cancer, but for getting the right type of fats and getting those lab tests too of how much omega-3 fats you're taking in and how deficient we are so deficient in those good essential fatty acids that we need to control inflammation, but also, inflammation of the brain is what you're more focused on learning more about and supplementing to help brain health.
Yeah, I just read Dr. Marcolla's that Keto Fast book too. It was really good. I enjoyed that as well. And if you went to Dr. Perlmutter's keynote at Paleo, you could see his importance on DHA, particularly for the brain, which is one of our big solves that we had to make as we were developing the product. Is that DHA in general, particularly in powder form, doesn't taste very good. So that's how our product evolved. We do have a powder form, but it evolved into an emulsified so that we could add DHA to the product. We really wanted to be able to add that to a daily routine besides just taking it in supplement or pill or krill oil or fish oil form. We wanted to add it to something that we took every day, like coffee. So we were really excited when we got our emulsified product back and we were able to incorporate a pretty fair amount of DHA per serving.
So let's go into that. What is your product made of? And so it's a creamer, non-dairy creamer that we can put in our coffee, correct? That's the main product. Yes. And then let's go into the ingredients in it and then the benefits of it for brain health and how it helps.
You bet. Well, the emulsified, like I said, we were able to incorporate DHA, right? And DHA is an essential omega-3 fatty acid, which is the most prevalent one in your brain. And then we have C8 MCT, and C8 it's a medium chain triglyceride fatty acid that converts to beta hydroxybutyrated ketone, which can cross the blood-brain barrier and does so pretty efficiently and quickly. So Joe and I both go, like we talked about, in and out of ketosis quite a bit to help with our long-term brain function. So we are constantly testing our blood ketones. And one thing that our product Memento that we've been able to witness as we go along from doing the ketone blood tests is that the MCT in particular does boost about anywhere from 0.5 to 1 millimolar within about 30 minutes of drinking a cup of coffee with Memento in it, the blood ketone level. So if you're coming into morning fasting and have a cup of Memento, you can get a little ketone boost, which is good for the brain energy. It also has lion's mane mushroom, which is a medicinal mushroom that stimulates nerve cell growth, and it also helps reduce inflammation, and it also tastes really good, in my opinion. So it has a good flavor. We also have acetylcholine, and that's a essential building block for cell membranes, and L-theanine, which comes from green tea, and it provides a calming effect when you combine it with caffeine, so it gives a nice calm focus. And it also has collagen peptide, particularly this one that comes from their silk peptides that comes from silkworm.
So when people are taking this in the morning, I know we're all interested in fasting and what breaks your fast. So if you're able to have black coffee in a fast, does this break your fast? Or I think is defining what is breaking your fast, that ideally we still burn fat, but the cell autophagy part, I think, is why people just do black coffee and just water. So have you researched anything how this affects your body if you have it in the morning if you're doing a fast?
Okay, so yes, there's that's a question. I think I don't know how many podcasts I've listened to, whether it's Mercola or Dom D'Agostino. Everybody has that question.
Yeah,
is it coffee? Is it tea? What can I have and what can I have to break a fast, right? So, and no one really, I don't think I've been able to get a straight answer or listen to a straight answer, and I don't have one either. But what we try to incorporate and think about the effects that it has on our level of ketosis and our brain function. So both Joe and I have done extended water fast. We've also do intermittent fasting and time restricted eating. And lately we've been incorporating kind of more like into that keto fast, but our own little take on it, where we do incorporate the Memento in the morning during a couple different 48-hour fasts during the week. It very much helps satiate you through the day to get you through, even just one simple cup seems to provide enough fuel and fullness to get through the rest of the day pretty easily on a 48-hour fast. So I don't know the answer on the autophagy part of it. My guess is that the science that Dr. Mercola and the prolonged fast from Walter Longo, that if you do shorter, more often fast, that the benefits from autophagy and stem cell growth over the course of time would be better than doing just a few extended 5-day fasts. So that's kind of direction we're going right now.
Yeah, it's a whole nother show, I know, but it's so interesting to me, especially, experimenting with fasting and being a fat adapted athlete, and what can you take and still burn fat. And I know Dr. McCullough's book even said that MCT oil in your coffee help if you are doing a prolonged fast. But I think I have a client that's into the 3-day fasting and for cell autophagy. So I think that's a big research in the future. It's like, what breaks your fast if you're trying to do cell autophagy versus if you're fasting just to get your body to burn fat and to have more time to recover and repair. itself and not digesting all the time with the time restricted eating. But it's definitely so much information to keep learning, and more research will come out in that. But one other question before we go on is kind of go over how ketosis helps for brain health if people are newer to ketones and brain health. What have you found, Joe or Chris, that benefits people's brain health, how ketones do anything beneficial for, because people think of it as a negative sometimes when I talk about like, oh, that's, bad for your health. What do you say?
Go for it, Joe.
Well, as far as the reason that we follow the ketogenic lifestyle and cycle in and out of ketosis to be metabolically flexible is that is for your brain health. It's imperative to be able to be metabolically flexible and not just rely on glucose metabolism, which creates more oxidative stress when you're consuming glucose. So by being in ketosis, you're effectively giving your brain a break and giving it less oxidative stress in its metabolism throughout the day. And so when you sleep is when you actually clean out your brain through the lymphatic system. And so ketosis, when you're in ketosis, from what I understand, you actually produce less oxidative stress. Therefore, you're doing less damage to your brain in the long term. Is kind of why we follow the cycle ketosis lifestyle.
Yes, and I think that's a big part of the whole benefit of being ketosis and metabolically flexible is the word oxidative stress. And especially for athletes, I'm trying to work on eventually how to become a fat adapted athlete, but metabolically efficiency is a really huge part of training, but what we eat. But I think for athletes and endurance athletes, say you're training for Ironman or 50K run or marathon cycling, you're putting so much stress on your body. But the benefit is future research to, get more information on is how we can reduce oxidative stress in our body by doing cyclical ketosis or, the intermittent fasting, time restricted eating. You can still get the benefit of the ketones. And as you said, adding in product as yours that adds that ketones that you can get into your bloodstream to help fuel your brain. But I think for overall, I keep saying our endurance athletes should be working on performance, but the more important goal is longevity. As you guys are creating this product and helping look ahead to your future, that you want to be 80 years old and know where you are and who you are and who your family is and not have Parkinson's or memory issues, dementia. There's just, I think we're all at risk for that. And I believe that we need to take care of what we're doing, take care of ourselves now for the future if we want to be traveling around the world and be in Australia on an island on a boat somewhere we're 85 years old is something we should be looking for. So next is looking at the momentum of the product. When should we be taking it and just putting our coffee, or can we add it into food when we're cooking? I know I've been making these low carb scones and I put this Dr. Axe's peanut butter bone broth mixture into it and collagen powder. So what have you done with it and how can we add it more into our day to improve our brain health?
Yeah, one of the big feedbacks we got at Paleo was from some chefs that were there and how they wanted to incorporate it into their recipes, particularly their recipes for their clients that had diets that were more into ketosis and trying to restrict refined carbohydrates. So, people were putting it on top of they're going to put it on their keto ice cream. They're going to put it on top of little gluten-free scone desserts they made. They were going to put it on top of the cappuccino foam. And because it turned out tasting really, really nice, just straight off the spoon. So it doesn't have to go into a coffee. It could go into really just about anything. But we developed it as an alternative to creamer, and then it's just kind of taking its own life for people from that point on. Debbie, you tried it. Did you try it straight off the spoon, or did you just try it in the coffee there at Paleo?
I'm on mute. Sorry. I had it in a coffee, but yeah, in the morning. And I did feel, I mean, I think all the supplements are what interests me into it, because those are all the ingredients that we need to take, most of us, and we're all individuals. So I can't say, one size fits all, but for me, the lion's mane, and I find the phosphatidylcholine is so important, and the collagen, and just all the ingredients are so impressive. So having it in my coffee in the morning, I would try I just was experimenting with chia seed pudding and adding different things into that. So it would be kind of fun to throw some of that into chia seed pudding, that I just soak chia seeds and throw some of the powder into that would be a good little pudding. Does it matter though if you have it any time of the day? It doesn't, I mean, with coffee, it gives you rush, but maybe not too much at nighttime, because that would make you too alert to fall asleep.
Well, no, not necessarily. I tend to, I'll have a couple cups of coffee in the morning with it, and then I will sometimes put it into a green tea in the mid-afternoon. But that is more just for entertainment value than anything, for the most part. I used to be a big coffee addict guy, like 14 cups of coffee. I never stopped drinking coffee all day long. I love coffee. But then part of it is because I loved it. Part of it is because I felt like I needed that caffeine rush, right?
Yeah.
Once again, as I fully admit, definitely was doing a lot of things wrong in the past, right? But since we started doing this, maybe a couple, 2, maybe 3 cups of coffee, normally 1 or 2, and I'm good for the day. And I feel like I've got more of that nice focus, energy than I ever did trying to drink coffee consistently throughout the day. But the little boost of ketones and lion's mane, I probably wouldn't recommend it within 3 hours of bedtime. When I first tried lion's mane, when I first was very excited reading about it, and I got it in, and it was evening time. I mixed myself just a hot cup of coffee with lion's mane powder, which basically made a mushroom broth, right? And so excited, drank it, and was excited to see what it was going to do. It was pretty late, and then I went to bed. And as I laid in bed with my eyes closed, I'm not kidding, it was like a fireworks show going off in my head. And so that's when I realized that, late at night, probably not the best time for lion's mane mushrooms. So I do try to consume it and stop having any, before 7 or 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I think before working, when I, trying to research or write blogs and work on my new Fat Adapted Athlete book, that something like this would be good. I've been trying to experiment with different things to help focus, because I, as many other people, like to do 20 things at once and have, your internet browser with 50 little pages open. So how to focus on just one thing at a time is really area of opportunity for me. So having something as this before work time, I think would help for focus and memory issues as well.
Definitely. We've started a couple companies since we started drinking this stuff on a regular basis. I really do believe that it has helped us plow through some of the work that it takes to get some of this stuff off the ground.
But the C8 and the MCT seems that's good to have for the brain function, and you said oxidative stress, but reducing hunger. I think that's what Dr. McCullough is talking about as well, as I've heard many times before, about having a little splash of the C8, the brain octane oil, to help get rid of any cravings of food if you are trying to fast, and it will keep you in that fat burning state. But that's,
he even recommended it and just to have freely during the fast, which I was kind of surprised. And it does. It's very satiating. Really, when you switch over into more into ketosis, you eliminate all of the blood sugar spiking, and the hunger kind of settles down anyway. And then you add a little bit of fat with the DHA and the MCT, and really, it really does help the fullness and not thinking about food and getting through those fasts. So right now, I'm going through a stage where we're basically doing kind of a twist on the Mercola keto fast thing, where we're going through a couple of fast, like 48-hour fast, followed by a refeed of real specific nutrients, and doing that twice a week. And we're drinking the Memento Creamer in the mornings, and it seems to be pretty easy for us.
Yeah, I should get some and try it for the days that I'm fasting, because I find during the workday. So what I'm doing now is trying to not eat, as Mercola and everyone, I've always known, not eat before bed. And I really like doing this because I can't eat and then go to bed and sleep well. I really notice my sleep's impacted with eating beforehand. And I go to bed early because I get up early. So my circadian rhythm, I found from Dr. Bruce's podcast, The Chronotype, I'm a lion. So I'm better going to bed at 8 o'clock and waking up at 5, 6 a.m. is my type of circadian rhythm. But so I have to stop eating at 5 o'clock. So it ends up, during the week, I've been trying to, Sunday through Thursday, don't eat after 5. And then work days, I am busy and I don't eat, and it's just have my coffee and then my water, and then just some tea, detox tea or whatever herbal tea I have. And it's amazing how you can just, if I might have a schedule that's busy and you don't think about eating, versus if I was at home, I think it'd be harder. But how I can lift weights some mornings, and I can go for my lunchtime master swim and maybe an easy run walk with a client, and then not eat until 4 o'clock. It's pretty amazing once you become fat adapted and metabolically flexible. You can switch back and then refeed on the weekends is what, a lot of people are talking about, that cyclical ketosis and having more carbohydrates on the weekend, which ends up automatic because if you're training for endurance events, you're doing more of a longer bike ride on the weekend and run anyways. And so it's easier to have more carbohydrates and not be so strict. So I think doing this kind of on and off is great hormetic stressor, but also, looking at mitochondrial health is what I'm really focused on as a person with a background of chronic stress disease and busyness, that I think is looking at performance and longevity, the brain health, as you guys are talking about. And then for me, it's the mitochondrial health and teaching your body to burn fat, because chronic stress will impact your blood sugar. So I think the fasting and putting it all together, as well as gut health, is so essential.
Yeah, I agree. And we've, and the whole incorporating the fast during the work week is something that we're doing, and looking forward to the refeed or the feast on the weekend has actually, it has almost like a motivating effect. Like, I can get through this, and then I'm going to have all this wonderful food and some really healthy carbohydrates on the weekend, and really enjoy that part of it without having feelings of guilt or, I didn't do it right or whatever. And what I've found is, while we've been doing this, is that it actually, I have to eat a lot of really good carbohydrates to get out of ketosis. So as I'm testing the blood and I want to get out of ketosis, I have to purposely reduce the fat and up the carbohydrates in order to even get into a glucose burning state. So it's been pretty interesting to track all that along the way.
Do you do something as Keto Mojo for testing your blood sugar and ketones?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I don't like, the whole thing even with keto fast is counting calories. I dieted way too much early on in my life. And so anything that seems to be a diet does not work for me. So something that isn't, I'm not going to count my calories, even though it's great for people starting out and count, all right, I'm going to have this many macronutrients and track my food in the chronometer. I personally can't do that because back in high school, college, and in my 20s, I think I overdid dieting for the rest of my life. So I find this is easier. It's not a diet to me. It's just a lifestyle. And then not feeling that you're missing out on anything and you don't feel like, I'm sacrificing missing out on foods because you can still eat real food. You're not binging and eating crap on the weekend, but you're eating good nutrient dense whole foods. But you don't have to feel like, I can never have that sweet potato, or I can't have whatever. Maybe I had some fresh sourdough bread or gluten free, something that you can do it sometimes and not feel like, as Vinnie Tortorich said years ago, put the life into living, that you still need to live life too and not feel like you're so strict. Because I find some people that are fasting, and we're kind of off topic, but it's a great conversation to have, of fasting so much that I think they become afraid of eating and they don't know what to eat when they eat. So then they're not eating. So I just think there's a fine line of, refeeding is so essential, and free feeding with the right mix of somewhat, low carb, high fat, balance your nutrients or balance your blood sugar. So you still are fat burning. But what do you think of, the wave of the trend of fasting and ketosis and what's going on in the industry after you guys are reaching out with different people and Paleo FX and conferences?
Well, yeah, I agree with you on the Mercola keto fast. When I was reading the book and I got into oh my gosh, you want me to actually count stuff? I'm not doing that. I'm not getting out my calculator and weighing food and measuring and keeping track of all this stuff. I just am not adding that to my plate of everything else I'm already doing. Right. I can kind of guess, what, how much, 4 grams of protein is. I don't have to measure it out and weigh it out and do all that stuff. So I think it needs to be pretty easy. And Joe and I have been kind of trying to combine a bunch of different things into something that we can easily incorporate into our daily existence. That's kind of our mantra, right? How can we incorporate this into our daily busy lives? We both have families and kids and businesses and all of that stuff. And we're kind of combining the intermittent fasting, the time restricted weaning, the cyclical ketosis, and throwing it all into a mix that we're calling it feast and forage, right? So I think even the name fast has a negative connotation to me. And so we prefer to call it forage rather than fast. And so like our typical week right now would be, say, on a Sunday morning, we would have a nice healthy breakfast with some eggs and avocado and stuff like that. We try to have a family type meal on Sunday mid-afternoon, where maybe we invite brothers, sisters, cousins, parents, somebody over to have a sense of community. And then that meal finishes, the finish of that meal mid-afternoon Sunday. We don't eat a meal, quote unquote, again until past that time on Tuesday. So we'll go basically 48 hours at that point. And then we'll have a nice refeed on Tuesday afternoon, early evening. Follow that up by another nice refeed of healthy foods on Wednesday morning. And then we wouldn't have another meal, quote unquote, until Friday lunchtime, Friday afternoon, to go another 48-hour stretch. Now, if there is an opportunity for a little foraging along the way, we just haven't been opposed to it. But a few nuts here on midday Thursday to get you through the day if you feel the need for it. We also have our memento creamers in the morning that keeps us full. And then we do a feast for the weekend where we refeed nice healthy foods and eat and try to possibly get out of ketosis at that time, because we'll be solidly in ketosis throughout the week. We know that from testing our blood. And like I said, sometimes it's even difficult at that point over just a weekend to get out of ketosis. So there would be a period of time, maybe 4 or 5 weeks of this fast, that we'll go ahead and not do any form of the forage/fast to try to get it out of ketosis for maybe 4 or 5 days and then start the process over again.
So do you feel big improvements overall health for your last, how long you've been doing this? Have you noticed a change?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. We both have definitely trimmed up considerably. And we both, this is a podcast for the whole athlete. We both incorporate exercise into our lifestyle today as well. We, there's some of that thought process of, do you exercise while you're fasting or do you rest while you're fasting? Right now, we're exercising during the week, during our forage/fast process. And that kind of we were talking about paleo effects and the whole primal thing. And when you think back of evolution, the theory of that would be that, hey, you were on the hunt during the fasting or foraging time. You were out trying to get the food for the feast. That's when you would have exercised. That's when you would have been out running. So we could just kind of follow that logic to think we are going to exercise daily throughout the week, and a combination of high intensity and some weight training. And then Saturday during our refeed, our feast, it's our recovery day. We try not to incorporate exercise during that day and let our body recover and come back up and then ease back into it Sunday and go back through the rest of the week.
Well, I love this topic, and we kind of went off of your program or product, the Memento Coffee Creamer, and we're running out of time. So let's go into where you can purchase your product and what other ones you have in the works.
Okay, yes. We are in production right now. And so we're hoping that here in another couple of weeks, it'll be available on Amazon and on our website, livetoremember.com. Will be the direct-to-consumer start of our product. And then in the future, we've got lots of ideas of things that we want to incorporate into brain health. We've actually developed several other products that are just kind of waiting there for us to be able to handle the launch of these things out, both financially and just time-wise. Some of that is different takes on the coffee creamer that have to do with adding some different things in for maybe some athletic performance items to go in there. And then some other items is we've got some different things incorporating with macadamia nut butters and things like that we want to launch in the future, and potentially some type of different take on a bar that has to do with brain health.
Well, I definitely can test any of those products out for you.
I've
been doing the fasted workouts, on the weekends, because the summertime I'm recording this, or almost summer, that I'm doing, 8,500 mile bike ride on the weekend. And yesterday I just had some Kion coffee, and I put a little bit of heavy cream in it, just a splash, and maybe a handful of macadamia nuts and water. And then I have on our bike ride, fat butter, and I had the Primal Kitchen bars. But one of those. And it's amazing when you're able to burn fat, how you don't need so much. But I'd be interested to try your coffee with all this great supplements in it, to have that before a long workout and then see how you feel.
You're first on the list. As soon as we get our hands on the production run, you will have some in your hands, I promise you.
Well, even this one out now with the DHA and the lion's mane, I think that would be great for athletes to have in their morning coffee before they go do a long run or long bike ride on the weekends. Because I don't like eating, because then it doesn't work in your stomach. So having this as, brain fuel, but it'd help your performance, I'm sure, as well. So we'll have to test that out.
Yeah, I would love for you to test it out for sure. We will get you some straight away.
All right. Well, I got to run, do my other job, personal training clients. So I appreciate your time, both of you today, and we will follow you and your new product launch coming out this year, and keep up what you're doing and following your passion and your mission.
Thank you, Debbie, so much for having us on.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you.
All right, guys. You guys can find everything on livetoremember.com, and you can order your Memento coffee creamer and try it out. It is tasty, and we want brain health for sure. I want to live to remember. Exactly what the website is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.